Hi everyone, Phil here, your favorite eDiscovery geek. And today, we're diving into something that can quietly make or break a document review. Threading. If you've ever looked at an email production and thought, why am I reviewing the same message 5 times? Then you've already felt the pain threading is designed to solve. But threading isn't just about efficiency. It's about context, it's about accuracy, and sometimes it's about uncovering what someone thought was buried. So instead of me explaining it myself, I brought in a detective who knows a thing or two about following conversations down mysterious paths. Lucian Vale.
They say every story leaves a trail. In my line of work, it's footprints in wet pavement. In yours, it's email threads. And like footprints, they overlap, smudge together, disappear under the weight of what came later. That's where threading comes in. Let's talk about what threading actually is. Threading, sometimes called email thread analysis, is the process of identifying messages that belong to the same email conversation and organizing them in a structured chain, not just grouping them, reconstructing them. Every time someone hits reply or reply all, they create a new message that usually contains the new content they just wrote, plus the entire history of prior messages in that conversation. That means the last email in a thread often contains all prior emails embedded beneath it. So if you review every email individually without threading, you're reading the same content again and again and again. Threading identifies the full conversation, the sequence of messages, which messages are inclusive, and which are redundant. The most complete version of the thread is called the inclusive email. The earlier emails, often non-inclusive, meaning their content is fully captured later in the chain. Reviewing all of them separately, that's like interviewing every witness who just repeats what the last guy said. In eDiscovery, time is money, but more importantly, context is truth. Threading allows review teams to reduce document volume, eliminate redundant review, improve consistency in coding decisions, and focus on the most complete version of a conversation. Without threading, reviewers may code 5 versions of the same discussion, and worse, code them inconsistently. One reviewer marks a message responsive. Another sees the same language in a slightly different copy and marks it non-responsive. Now your production is fractured. Threading helps resolve that issue. One conversation, one review decision, and a cleaner production. But there's more. Here's where things get interesting. Let's say a lawyer joins a thread midway through the conversation. The later emails may now contain privileged content, but the earlier ones, they might not. Threading helps isolate when an attorney enters the conversation, when legal advice begins, which messages are partially privileged and which are fully privileged. It also allows for redaction precision, identifying exactly where privileged text starts inside a thread. Without threading, privileged review becomes guesswork. With threading, it becomes structured. And in this business, structure keeps you out of trouble. Threading isn't magic. It's metadata and algorithmic comparison. Systems analyze message ID, in reply to fields, conversation index values, subject lines, participants, sent dates, and the actual text body. Advanced tools compare the textual content to determine what's new, what's quoted, what's repeated. The system then builds a conversation tree, not always a straight line. Sometimes branches split. Someone forwards a message without the full history. Someone edits a subject line. Someone deletes earlier content. Now you've got forks in the narrative. Threading tools account for those breaks. They attempt to reconstruct what really happened, even when the participants try to rearrange the story. This is the part most review teams care about. An inclusive email contains unique content not found in any later email in the thread. A non-inclusive email contains no unique content. Everything it says appears later. If you review only inclusive emails, you reduce volume dramatically, often by 30 to 50%. That's not just efficiency, that's strategic leverage. Because now your team spends time on what's actually new. Threading isn't just about saving time. It affects review workflows, batching strategies, quality control, privilege logging, and production decisions. Some teams review only inclusive emails. Others review inclusive first, then sample non-inclusive for QC. Some rely on threading for near-duplicate detection alignment. And in complex matters such as regulatory investigations, internal misconduct, and litigation, threading helps reconstruct intent over time. Not just what was said, but when it was said, and what changed. That's the part people overlook. But thread is a timeline, and timelines tell stories. Sometimes, stories people wish had stayed buried. Threading isn't perfect. Among other limitations, threading struggles when emails are heavily edited, chains are broken by forwards, attachments change, when mobile devices strip metadata, or users alter subject lines. And of course, threading doesn't analyze intent. It doesn't interpret tone. It doesn't replace human judgment. It just clears the fog so reviewers can see the road. And in eDiscovery, clarity is currency. Modern matters involve millions of documents. Manual review without threading, that means you're drowning in duplication. Threading isn't optional anymore. It's foundational. Threading controls costs, reduces risks, improves consistency, and strengthens defensibility. And when opposing counsel asks how you ensure consistent coding across conversations, threading is part of that answer. Because at the end of the day, discovery isn't about collecting everything. It's about understanding the conversation. And conversations don't exist in fragments. They exist in threads. You can learn a lot by following a thread. Sometimes you find redundancy. Sometimes you find contradictions. And sometimes you find that moment everything changed.
Thanks, Lucian. Well, everyone, that's threading in a nutshell. If you found this helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe. We're going to be breaking down more core eDiscovery concepts in ways that actually make them stick. And if there's a topic you want to investigate next time, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, keep reviewing smart. See you on the next one.